I am here with the awesome Sarah Cordiner for another episode of SaaS Dads. In case anybody's wondering, you're not a dad, are you, Sarah?
Depends what day you're asking,
What
really.
day? Your
Yeah,
pronouns are she, her, amazing person, gypsy queen, those kind of things.
that's it. But I'm excited to be here. When you said, "Oh, I would like to interview on SaaS Dads," I was like, "You do know I don't have a PP, right?
We
But bring it on."
we know, but you are awesome, and so far we have been fortunate, or I have been fortunate enough to talk to some amazing SaaS dads who've some who are in the developing stages and some who have grown some amazing business, and you have grown an amazing business. So I was like, I got to get Sarah on here as an honorary SaaS dad. So thank you for coming on. And for anyone who doesn't know Sarah, you should check her out on the TikToks and the Facebook and so forth and so like. She runs TekMatix. Probably one of the biggest SaaSes in Australia, I'm sure. Like, you've got multiple awards, speaker at the High Level Summit, Platinum SaaSpreneur for 3 years running, coming up for three.
Yes, absolutely. We're just moving into our fourth year now. And yet the SaaSpreneur Summit Australia just gone. It was confirmed that we are the largest SaaS-based GHL agency in Australia. So certainly not the largest agency as in all people using high level, but we are the largest SaaS, pure SaaS agency. So that's very exciting. I know that I've got some competitors that are very close up behind me. And we're just very, very honoured to be able to have grown something from the spare bedroom in me Ugg boots with the kids running around. And I hope that, just by sharing some of the things today, I don't even know what questions we're going to answer or what we're going to cover today. I know we're going to keep this quite conversational and loose, but I kind of hope that the main thing people take from this is that you can build something quite extraordinary, even if you are doing it from home, between school hours, with the kids running around and being a parent. I think one of the biggest things I've seen in 20 years in business, and certainly as a business coach, is a lot of people sometimes feel restricted by the circumstances that they're in. And I think I have to put off my dream, or I have to put up my business, or I have to wait until circumstances are better or different. And as somebody who has built a business that, by the way, is coming into its fourth year, is already valued at a $15 million valuation. I've done this with both being at the same time as being pregnant, breastfeeding, having newborns, and with the support of my husband, of course, as well. And at many points of it in the early days, not because he was working full time as a police officer and was very, very rarely home working all kinds of different shifts. I just want people to kind of know that there's never going to be the right or perfect time. There's never going to be the right or perfect sort of set of circumstances that just present themselves that, like, now's the time, today's the day. You can do this, whether you're holding the baby, and there's certainly been many Zoom calls I've run, or workshops I've delivered, podcast interviews I've been on, quite literally with a babe on the boob. So I hope you all know, no excuses, we can do this. And I think today we're probably going to share a little bit of some real raw stories. And I must say, I'm actually a little bit uncomfortable with this, Gary. Like, you know that I am, Miss Extrovert out there, and I'm very, very confident in OTT on stage and stuff. But when it comes to this more personal topic of parenting and life behind the scenes, this is actually something I don't talk about very much. So when you kind of presented the opportunity to come here, I thought, wow, is this the side of me that anyone is A, really interested in, but B, do I really want to talk about some of this? Because I think it's very easy for a lot of us to feel like when we're trying to get the balance right, sometimes, I think, Gary, I'm sure you have, we've gone, oh my God, like sometimes I feel like the shittest mum in the world. I feel like the shittest parent in the world. I feel like, I could focus on one area and drop the ball on the other. And there's a lot of guilt that comes with parenting and building an empire, right? So it is a little bit of that. How do we live or create that balance, and or just get comfortable with the fact we're always as parents going to have a level of guilt around, am I being there enough? I'm building this for them and for their future. And sometimes that means sacrifices such as missing the odd thing, and, the other partner or the other parent steps in and covers for you. I think that's the reality of it, isn't it?
Pretty much. And yeah, that's totally the reality, and the reason behind doing this is to have those conversations for people that, there's a lot of people that look up to you. You're inspirational, Sarah, in the high level community. You definitely are, and that's definitely, people look up to you and they go, oh, look at Sarah, she's got all this, it's amazing. But it's not the case that it was always there, right? You've had to build that. And you, as you said, you did that while having kids, and, kid on the boob and very young children when you started TekMatix. So just tell us when did you? Well, you said actually it was 4 years ago. You started TekMatix. How old were your children when you started?
Yeah, so for me, TekMatix kind of birthed during COVID. Just to give you a little bit of background, I've been in the tech space for pretty much 20 years. I've predominantly focused on helping course creators, educators, and businesses, companies, universities, colleges in creating educational programs. So my background is a teacher trainer and a curriculum developer. And when I did my degrees at uni to get through and learning all that teaching and curriculum design stuff, that's when e-learning and online learning, particularly for colleges, schools, universities, and corporates, was becoming a bigger thing. So, it was 20 years ago plus now that was happening. So naturally for me, being in that kind of space, I focus quite heavily on the development of educational programs in e-learning. And as my business grew from that early stage, I was developing these online programs for all kinds of global organizations. And back then they were like huge, clunky, extremely expensive systems. And just to give you some idea, back then we're talking between $20,000 to $50,000 a month to run some of these softwares back then, right? Because they all needed coding and they were all very complex. But I had to learn all of them because I had so many clients in so many countries that needed their e-learning developed that I had to kind of become a bit of a specialist in every single one of those softwares. And as time went on, it then started moving into the everyday person beginning to create online curriculum and online education. And that's when platforms that were more open source and or more publicly available for much cheaper prices, like back in the old days, Udemy, that when that first came out, one of the first ones that really opened up online learning and online education to the public market. They all started then suddenly pulling out. You had Teachable come out, which had a different name then. It was called Fedora back in the old days. Thinkific, Kajabi, all of these other platforms, LearnWorlds all started to come along. And so I had to learn and specialize in all of those too. And then as I was setting up all of the courses, then people said, well, how do I market them? So then I had to learn all the email marketing software, all of the funnel software, all of the calendar booking software. And so I basically had to learn probably around 40 to 60 different softwares and Zapier to zap everyone's different tech stacks and tech setups together. I actually became the first female partner with most of these platforms and was pretty much a super affiliate for all of them and was earning a lot of money, both promoting those platforms and setting clients up on all of them. And had earned them freaking millions of dollars over the next decade that came along, right? I'm not even going to exaggerate this. I made them millions of dollars by the amount of people I referred to those different organizations. And what happened in COVID, as many of you know, is a lot of these softwares kind of monopolized on the fact that everyone was going online and most people had no other option but to earn income from online. And most of them doubled to tripled their pricing for their subscriptions. And it whacked me super hard, right? Just to let you know, when COVID broke out, my waters were breaking. I literally was giving birth at the moment that COVID was announced globally. And so I'm going, well, shit, I was literally about to take a year off maternity leave. And now thousands of clients and students that I've got are in a situation where they literally can't afford to continue to run their business because all of their software prices just increased. And I was sitting there going, shit, I've got to now sell 3 times more courses if I can afford mine, because most of those platforms charge you more each month as your contact list grows, as you add courses on. So I was spending thousands of dollars a month just on my subscriptions because of the size of my contact list and the number of courses I had. And that story was similar for a number of my clients too. So I was running a workshop. It's called the Legends Lab. It's my coaching academy. I was running a workshop and this conversation came up. Everyone was very upset. Everyone was very distressed. Everyone was very scared. Like none of us knew what was going on, obviously. And one of them said, Sarah, I'm so angry that they've all upped these prices on us. If you started your own platform, I would sign up. And then the Zoom chat thread just went, oh my God, me too. Bing, me too. Bing, me too. Me too. Me too. And I was like, hold my beer. So I just started mass hunting, looking around. And I'd had this dream for years. Like very little did these people know. I dreamt for years of having my own platform. I was so kind of jealous and also inspired by the fact that, all of these companies that I was bringing in so much money for were making so much money. And I'd often thought I could be doing this for myself and for my own business. And this is when a beautiful friend of mine, Maria, introduced me to High Level. And as soon as I saw it, and even back then with a fraction of the features it has today, my jaw dropped to the floor. I genuinely couldn't comprehend that it was real, that I could have unlimited courses, unlimited students, unlimited email marketing, all of the stuff I was paying thousands of dollars a month for like less than $500 a month. What? It just blew my mind. And so I signed up immediately, and my husband came home from work. He'd just done this, however many days shift as a police officer. And I was like, here, hold this baby. He said, okay, how was your day, babe? And I said, well, I think I might have accidentally started a SaaS company. He said, what's a SaaS company? And I said, oh, I'll be back in a week. I'd pre-packed a bag. As soon as he held the baby, I had to get on a plane to the Philippines to try and find a team of people to help me set this up, because as much as I was a tech person, I've never run a SaaS company before. I don't have a freaking clue what I was doing. So yes, quick pump of the old milk thing, chucked it all in the freezer. Off I was to the Philippines and had to hire this whole team. We spent the next week, 16 hours a day, basically sat on my hotel bed and took over a whole corner of this straw hut by the swimming pool scenario with all of our plugs coming out of the bar and just sat there fueled by pizza and Coca-Cola for a whole week getting this thing set up. And within the first 18 months of launching, that's when we got our first valuation for 15 million. And it very, very quickly took off. So just to tell you how quickly it took off, Gary, this was like one of the biggest, we're hey, but holy shit moments ever in my life I've had. As I was kind of doing all the research for High Level and was like, right, this is what I want to do. Here's kind of the rough plan. I'm talking butcher's paper on the window behind me. And I wrote on it, this was September, by the way. I said, I want to get 50 beta testers by December. So I basically given myself 90 days to try and get 50 people on board them all, try and see if this thing worked or not. Yeah. Is it even going to be a thing, or are people not going to want to leave all of the platforms they're already set up on? And so I thought, cool, 50 people within 3 months would be amazing, like dream come true scenario. I turned on a live stream on Facebook in my fluffy socks, and I just went, hey guys, big news. I'm leaving Thinkific, I'm leaving Active Campaign, I'm leaving Calendly, and all of these people knew I'd been a mega affiliate of all these platforms for ages. And I went, here's what I'm moving to instead. It's called TekMatix, which obviously is my version of High Level. I went, click here, stick your name down if you're interested in signing up. I had 754 people sign up in 12 hours.
Great, isn't it? But terrifying.
I had nothing. I had no flipping process. I didn't have the staff. I didn't have training materials. I had mastered all of the features myself. And this is that moment where I got booked. I'm like, there is no other way around this. I now have to get on a plane and make this happen yesterday.
Yeah, that's quite the launch, isn't it? To get going, it's a little rocket booster there. And how good is your husband? He is so understanding. How did he really take that? It's okay.
There's not many men in the world who would get home from a 3-day shift and hold a newborn and a 3-year-old toddler and say, have a good time, without even having a clue what venture I was just about to go and get myself off into. So I very much appreciate the fact I have a very, very supportive partner. But he's winning now, right?
Yeah, he's winning at life now.
He's winning at life now. So it was really interesting, actually. A couple of years later, the business obviously had been doing really well. We managed to get some amazing staff on board, and we did fall through a few very spectacularly big holes. There's a lot of problems that you cannot prepare for until they happen, that you just, in the learning process, you're not going to know that you need to learn until the problem is literally on fire all around you. But we got into a position actually 2 years later where I was able to retire him from the police. He'd served 10 years, and he was like, babe, I can't believe you've done this. This is insane what you've done. And we wanted to move from Western Australia. We were living in one of the most remote locations in Australia, a little place called Broome up in northwest Australia, for those of you who don't know it. And it was becoming increasingly difficult to kind of live that remote. But for those of you who don't know, it's a 3-hour flight to the nearest city in the same state. That is how remote this place was. And this is where I launched TekMatix, right? literally bumfuck nowhere. It's not quite the end of the world, but you can see it from there, kind of isolated,
just over the
right?
hill.
Literally, yeah. So we decided we needed to move over east because the amount of flights and conferences, Gary, we spend half of our life at conferences and events because it's one of the biggest ways you're going to get discovered. So any of you starting out or have a SaaS right now, if you're not at events networking, you're missing out on one of the highest converting strategies ever. So all this travel was just a lot. I was away from the kids, and here's where the big mum guilt thing came in, right? I was away from them all the time. Just to go and do a 1-hour presentation, I would have to fly from Broome to Perth, spend an overnight in Perth because of the way that the times worked, then come over to an event. Normally we'd have to get there the day before because, again, the flight would never get me until the evening. So it was taking me 2 days just to get to an event and then 2 days to fly home. So 4 days away from my children, who were very little at the time and still breastfeeding, to go and do a 1-hour presentation. And it was just ridiculous, like doing that pretty much every other week. So this is why we kind of sat down and went, we need to make some major family life changes. And I think this is where the parent conversation comes in now, right? Is you kind of go, we're doing this for our family, we're doing this for our future, for our legacy, for our children's future. At what point do you draw the line and say, the way that this is operating right now, we have to change something? And if the business is working and the business is growing and the business is providing, then perhaps it is other circumstances that need to change. And for us, that was as huge as packing up our entire life and moving interstate. So we decided, after I'd done a particularly massive trip, I'd been away for something like 4.5 weeks solid, traveling around the world to all these different events, and was really, really, really low. I was feeling like the worst mother on earth. I felt like I was deeply failing my children. I felt like I had this fear that I was damaging their psyche just because, like, so little. Mummy's not there. Mummy's not putting them to bed. And it just broke me. And we sat down when I got back from this particular trip. I was sick because I'd been in all these skanky conference rooms full of ill people. And I just said, we've got to move. So 6 weeks later, we broke our lease on our property. We packed up everything and we just drove over east. And we had no idea where we were going to stay. We had no idea where we were going to live. We hadn't got anything sorted. We had a caravan on the back of the car, and we were like, well, the very worst thing that can possibly happen here is we're going to be sleeping in the caravan over Christmas until we find a house. Luckily, we managed to sort that out. But this was like the change that we knew we had to make if we were going to be able to keep this sustainable as a family, but also for the growth of the business, because I would be closer to the airports and closer to international travel and closer to the cities that it was taking me 4 days to get to travel to. And honestly, making that move, as scary as it was, as flipping expensive as it was, if anyone who wants to know how much does it cost to move interstate, it cost us 40 grand, FYI, to do all the removals and everything. But that has been responsible not only for the exponential continued growth of our SaaS, because I'm at more events, because I'm more present in the community when my audience are hanging out, but also been exponentially beneficial as a result of the fact that I'm home more. I am working more from home. I'm going away less, and I am able to have more balance as a parent too. So big moves are sometimes part of, and certainly for us, has been how to bring this balance in.
Yeah, because it is hard. There's always the unrest at the start of any business, and like, you remind me of my wife so much. Like, she's got this idea, going to go and do this thing. Like, my wife sort of accidentally launched a health retreat up here on the Sunshine Coast. Like, just about 8 months ago now, that launched out of a conversation that she had with another soccer mum at a charity lunch, and just said, I want to do this. This is my idea for a health retreat, and this is how I want it to run. And then it was like 2 days later, she got a phone call from that mum's husband who said, I found the property for your health retreat.
Wow.
And it was like 30 acres, and it was a big number for it. He goes, I can sort that out. We'll work out the business. And then my wife rang me. She goes, just rang me about this thing. I think I'm launching a health retreat. I'm like, you what?
I think I put an offer.
And it didn't end up being that property. It ended up another one, and she launched this health retreat. And then we had a very similar thing with, like, when she's launched the health retreat, like, it's all up in the air. And she had days where she would, or days, like a week at a time, where she would end up staying there because she needs a night manager there. You've got people coming and staying. This is a longer term. This isn't a spa and nail health retreat. This is a mental health retreat. People come for sort of changing their state, basically. So they've got to have night managers and all that kind of thing, which she didn't have in place when she started. It's like, we've got as much as we can. Don't have a night manager this week. I guess I'm night manager. So she would disappear for a week. We'd see her on Monday morning, go, see you when?
It's that
She's
concept of building the plane on the way down, isn't it?
yeah, it would just be like, okay, well, I guess we'll see you when. And we would spend time, like me and my son Finn, who you've met. We would go up there some evenings. I'd pick him up from school. We would just go up there for dinner, just to like have dinner with mum for an hour or two, and then drive home. We go, well, we'll see you 3 or 4 days. She go, probably, don't know. But it's those self-sacrifices that you make, and then you go, oh, but it's for the longer good, and as long as I think recognizing those things on the way, like you guys did, obviously, and going, we're doing this for the family, for our future, but we also need to have a family now. This is maybe too much sacrifice, because you feel really guilty about that stuff, right? Spending so much time away from your kids. And
that's it. And we've had to continue to make changes like this. Like I said, we're just coming into our 4th year now, and as I said, I retired the husbeast, and he was helping me first of all took over all of the ugly things that I don't like doing, bless him. We're talking about the finance stuff, the tax stuff, the insurance stuff, but he also really brought in a new dynamic to the business, and I think this is something that's been really interesting. I've been running this business completely and utterly on my own for the best part of 20 years. I had never had a partner, I'd never had anyone in any way remotely involved in the business, and Alex had always stayed very outside of it. He was just like, you do what you do, it's nothing to do with me. So when he came in, he suddenly had this whole industry, there's 2 industries to learn because my other side's an education company. And he sort of looked at everything that we had. We've just made this big move. He said, you're going and making this move to be more visible, to be more present. He was like, babe, your branding sucks. I was like, gee, thanks. I'm a bit of a done is better than perfect kind of girl. I'm a launch messy girl, and I've never really bothered too much about aesthetics or branding, like visual branding and things like that. I've just always been all about value, get it out there, who cares? But he comes from a very different perspective, and he was like, Nat, we've got to do rebranding. We've got to have proper brands for everything. So any of you had seen the early TekMatix branding, it was horrendous because I did it on a bed in the Philippines at 3:00 in the morning on Fiverr and Canva. It was so bad. So bear in mind, we've just like rinsed our savings of 40 grand to move over east. And he's like, let's do a double rebrand. So bam, there goes another $50,000, whacked it straight on the credit card to get this professional branding done. But he brought in this whole new level of quality to the business that, quite frankly, I don't think I ever would have bothered doing. And what happened when we got the rebranding done was that month, the 30 days after we launched the new brand and the new website, we had a 700% increase in signups that next 30 days and to the next 90 days. And people actually massively commented it and said, I'd looked at your platform multiple times before, but it just looked so ugly, so I didn't bother. Now it looks really nice, I'm signing up. And I don't get this mindset because I'm like, what the hell? It's still the same software. Like, it's exactly the same service, exactly the same thing. Like, why would you care what it looks like? But people do. And if I hadn't brought my partner in and got him to contribute his perspective, his values, the things that he sees actually as a kind of an outsider, we wouldn't have had the change in growth and the change in market perception that came with what he bought and put into the business. So that was a really big thing. And you may know, Gary, I know you know, I run a lot of events now because now I can, right? I've run them forever, but I used to run them quite few and far between because it was such a mission to do. But I run a lot of events, and he got all the banners, he's got the backdrop things and the flyers and proper filming gear, because I just used to film shit from the back of my room on my camera. He's got all the professional film gear and just really leveled up everything. And I think this is something that I had underestimated as someone who'd been a real independent business owner. When you bring your partner or your life partner in to something, like, you see a whole new side of them, and you see a whole bunch of skills and qualities that you actually never had the opportunity to uncover before, because you've never put them in a position whereby they could contribute in that way. And so it really brought together, I think, our marriage, because we now had something else that was shared that had never been shared in the 15 years of our marriage before that. And I don't know, with Gary, with you and your wife, how much you contribute to each other's businesses. Do you contribute a lot there? Like, do you see a similar thing, that she brings stuff into your business that you might not have thought about, and vice versa?
A little bit of A, a little bit of B, a little bit of yes, a little bit of no. Like, we are very, very different. And she has very different perspectives on things that I have sometimes, which I appreciate, and sometimes I don't want to listen to. And then she's like you, she'll build the plane on the way down, and she doesn't like someone going, hang on, if you don't put that bolt in there, you're actually going to crash before you get to the ground. And she's like, I don't care. I'm doing that anyway. And then I just go, okay.
Gosh, Sarah and I are like, why haven't we met yet? It's really interesting. So let's talk about this then, the conflict side of it, because obviously this too is a very big thing. Like, when you start working together, there obviously is a lot of conflict that comes up, and we have certainly had days where it's just been like very different viewpoints. Again, I'm go. He's like, whoa, hold on, horsey. Or he has really big ideas that he thinks are goers, and I'm like, there's 1,000 other more important things to do right now, and he's got offended. So like, when you guys have had those conflict situations, how do you deal with those?
Oh, depends. Mostly I just go, okay. I'll let you sit with it, and then we'll come back.
Probably the wise move.
Because I can't. I just go, I got enough to do. I will help you to do that. If you want me to help you to do it, I'll get it done. And if you don't want to listen, then that's cool too. And then you crack on in your own way. Come back when you need it.
Yeah, it certainly brings a new dynamic in. Well, we've, I don't know if I've told you this yet, Gary, but after I've retired the man from the police, we have very recently made a very new big move. And that is that he's decided to leave my employment and go back and get a job. So it's been an interesting couple of years. So he's now been working for me and for the business for 2 years, just coming up. Yeah, it's 2 years next month, actually. And it's been amazing, and it's been really, really helpful. And certainly while we've still got small kids, he's been able to really be present to the children, which I think most dads, or like the primary breadwinner, usually wouldn't have the opportunity to do. And that's been so cool. Now they kind of get into the age where they don't need us to be around as much. They're at school now, so it's a bit different. But what we found is that he kind of was feeling as though he's helped me to get me to a particular level, but our structures have changed, our systems have changed, a lot more staff on board, we got a whole management team going on now, and we're kind of sitting down, helped me kind of crawl out of the next growth stage. And now we're sort of sitting here going, like, now what does he do? Like, there's kind of work that we needed him to fill before. And he's feeling a little bit like, what's my purpose now? I need like the next big thing to do. So he's made the decision he does want to go back into the workforce, just purely because he wants his own thing. He wants his own man stuff. And it's a really interesting position to be in. And the kind of part of me goes, take away the feeling of, don't you want to be around me all day, every day anymore? And we don't need you to go to work. Like, financially, we don't need him to go to work. But he was like, I feel like I just want my own thing and my own space and my own extra stuff. So yeah, we're going through that change now, which is going to be very interesting again as to how that changes our roles. And I will now need to do meetings less early in the morning and less late in the evening, so that I can be primary mum, pick her upper and drop her off for schools and stuff. But new dynamics coming again. And it's the thing is, right, there's always change when you're parenting and in business. Like, I think we have to constantly go, for now, this is what we're going to do. But next year, when they're a year older, a lot changes again, right?
Yeah, it's change is the only constant, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you see your like the way as your kids, well, you've got your boy, haven't you, gets older, like, do you see your business shifting as he gets older?
I see it shifting. I don't know if it's related to him getting older. It's just a matter of time of the business and so on. Like, we've just made some little adjustments with us, because the way that we work between us is, like, my wife is running the health retreat, so she will take him to school in the morning. I hang with them, we do breakfast, we hang out. I'll start work around about 9 o'clock, because after they go, I just kind of get ready and sort myself out, so that way I can just hang with them in the mornings. And then I work from 9 till about 2:30, and then I pick him up. And then I spend from pick up till he goes to bed, which is 7:30-ish with him. And then once he's gone to bed and gone to sleep, I will then come back to work at about 8 o'clock, because that's when I can talk to my dev team and stuff like that. Plus, we've got a lot of customers in the US. And I purely don't get enough done, because like 9 till 2:30, that's like 5.5 hours.
I know, it's not long.
That's not very long. So I will then work from like 8 till a standard would be like 11:30, something like that, which is another 3 hours. So that's an 8-9 hour day. Like there's a couple of days where generally I'll end up working late. There might be some later nights in there. But normally that's an 8-9 hour day, but it feels like a very, very long day for me, because it's like, okay, well, I'll still start at 9, but then I don't finish work till say 11:30, midnight.
Yeah.
And I always stretch out. I'm absolutely rigorous with stretching before I go to sleep. I had a very bad motorbike accident when I was young. I have to stretch every single day. It keeps me in good shape. So then, it's just got to wind down as well, because you've been in front of the computer. So it seems like a super long day. So we've just made a little bit of a change where now I'll drop him off 2 mornings a week, and then my wife picks him up 2 mornings a week, picks him up 2 afternoons a week. So that way I'll finish work at 4 or 5 o'clock on a couple of those days. And that way, then I don't really need to work in the evening. Or I might just go and just flick out a couple of emails after he's gone to bed, but I don't really need to spend the evening working. So then we can have a bit more time together, because I was just knackered all the time, basically. There was never a stop between getting up, walking the dog in the morning and getting going and helping organise breakfast and getting him out the door for school and all that, and then me getting myself ready, and you finish at midnight.
The organising of the calendars is very important, isn't it? And I think this is another big part of, SaaS dadding and SaaS mumming, is that getting that schedule and that routine is so important. Like, I've gone to the extreme now. I used to have to do all these big long hours, and I've spent the last year particularly focusing on structuring up a team so that I don't have to be as much in operations anymore. Like in Australia, it's 3 years is considered the startup period, and so I kind of do liken building a business to having a baby. You've got that first 3 years where they are hanging off the boob, so to speak, and they are very tiny. They need you all the time. You can't leave them for very long, blah blah blah. But when you kind of hit that 3-year period of finally being out of startup stage, that's when they can start going to kindy or daycare and all those other things. So you start sort of doing the same with your business. So I don't do hours as long as that anymore. Wednesdays for me are my long days, because what I've decided to do is make Mondays an admin day. And I actually specifically make Mondays co-working admin days. So for the last 2 years since I've been over East now, I do what I call walkie-talkies on the beach on a Monday. We go and start the week with our 10,000 steps, having had fresh air, really focused, ready to go. I have a bunch of people who come around my house and we co-work all day whilst the kids are at school, and we do 1 hour power hours. So we all literally set a goal, what we're doing for the next 60 minutes. 60 minutes, my bing bong alarm goes off. We get up, quickly do some exercise for 3 minutes, and then we sit back down and power for another hour, which I have found has been really, really great for getting as much done as possible on the first day of the week in that 5-hour window that the kids are at school. So I have this kind of psychological sense of achievement straight from the beginning of the week, which is a great way to then kick off that self-efficacy and that feeling of motivation to then tackle the rest of my week. So I found that has been really important. So I don't know if anyone listening, like if you could restructure your week so that your Mondays are a week where you do have massive traction, where you do have a big sense of achievement, lots of things ticked off your list, because that psychologically is a massive power move for more productivity as the rest of the week goes on. Now, Wednesdays for me, I have made the day that I do calls, right? Wednesdays are when I have podcast interviews, I'm running workshops, I have get it done sessions with clients. And I have chosen on Wednesdays that these will be the days where I do go from 6 a.m. till 8 o'clock at night on calls with clients all day, because that then becomes the only day of the week that I'm actually doing client stuff or other people's stuff. The rest of my week is then focused on my operational goals as the CEO, the growth strategy, the creating system stops and instructions for my team to then go and implement, the parts that only I can do, like my face doing talking head video content or social media content. And this is how I now only have those Wednesdays as those long ass days. The rest of the week, I can now fit in my things, my growth strategies and my growth work. I call it the OBT, the one big thing, between the hours of 9:30 and 2:30 while the kids are at school. So if anyone is doing those 16-hour days still to try and fit in around school hours, I think the next big shift for your business, which certainly has been for me, has been going, at what point now can I operationally remove myself and work differently day to day so that growth becomes inevitable, so that you can take on more staff, so that you can bring that family balance back.
And how did you get there with that? Because there's so many moving parts with the business to get there. Because that sounds easy, right? You go, well, now I've got teams, so they do that, and I structure my day there. But there's a lot to take on with that when you're building a business, like staff, right? You go, well, I've got a team, but you don't just get a team that can do what they want straight away, right? You've got to train them, you've got to create SOPs. You've got to manage finances to be able to build and grow that team as well. You've got to have stability in the business to know that those finances are going to be there. And then you've got to manage all the things with customer support coming in. So you need a team to manage customer support. And then I bet, like me, you probably still get like 1 million DMs from people all the time as well.
Yeah, it's full on. For me, it's kind of going, like, what's the biggest hole that you have right now? Like, where is either customers falling out the bottom who you worked really hard to get, or how can you get more people coming in is usually where most people's holes are. But for me, what I identified is I always have been and am kind of the person that promotes the business. I'm the face of the business. I'm the one up on stages. I'm the one on the podcasts. I'm the one kind of bringing in all the leads, so to speak. And what I found is my growth started stalling because I was so tied up in operations, because I was so tied up in those more higher level support tickets and people wanting to have demo calls and onboarding calls with me because it was me they were seeing on the stages. And so I was starting to kind of see the numbers just not grow that were coming in because I was no longer out there doing the thing that I'm good at, which is the marketing side, right? So I realized I needed someone to come in as a COO, CTO. But did I have a 250 grand salary in startup to pay someone to do that role? Of course I didn't, especially since I just jizzed it all up on the moving to other side of the bloody East Coast. So what I did, and and I recommend everyone does because this really worked for me, is I found somebody who was willing to work as like a fractional CTO, COO, someone who was willing to come into my business for a fixed number of hours per week to help with the really bigger, higher level operational tech stuff. So this is why I use the word CTO, Chief Technology Officer, because those people tend to be pretty good at being able to restructure the software and the systems behind the scenes to enable more operational efficiency. And that's the kind of stuff that was above and beyond my everyday tech ability. Like, I'm great as a user of the software and teaching people how to use the software, but what I don't know how to do very well is the actual SaaS operation, the SaaS technical management behind the scenes. And if you get that wrong, you're absolutely stuffed, right? So I knew I had to bring somebody in for at the very least a few hours a week to kind of help make sure that was set up correctly so that when I am out there working my butt off bringing people in, they're not falling through holes in the bucket somehow. And to then also implement the scalability side of that tech setup with the automated onboarding processes to help bring in more team members, to train the team members, so on and so forth, so that I can focus on just the bit that I'm good at. So I think two parts of it there is, one, you can fractionally hire people. Now, that particular person was Maria. And after a few months, because I was able to go back to marketing stuff, I was bringing more people in. We ended up being able to take her on a full-time salary. And so she's been with us full-time now for the whole 4 years. And she runs the whole company with me now. And I think that is something that was very, very powerful move, starting off with a part-time, moving up to the full-time, moving towards having a stake in the organization. Then the second part of that was identifying what bit are you naturally good at? What bit do you love and do you enjoy and that you're just an absolute whiz at? You know, for me, I'm the hey, look at me on stage person, and I absolutely love that. That's when I'm in my absolute place of superhero mode. Maria could not think of anything worse than being out there on the stages and in the limelight and being all look at me, right? Like, she would rather stick a cactus up her butt than do that. She loves being behind the scenes. She loves doing the tech. She loves doing advanced, problem solving and support issues and things like that. Like, that's literally her zone of genius. And so this is why knowing what your strength is and finding your absolute area of weakness is the best part you can focus on, because now between those two things put together, this is what now 3-4 years down the line has resulted in me having a place of balance where my work fits into being a parent, and the work that I do feels fun and ignites me and energizes me and fills my cup. I'm no longer doing those tasks that make me want to smack myself around the head with a hammer because I hated doing them so much. As soon as you're spending more time doing the jobs you hate over the ones you love, that's when your motivation wanes, when it becomes painful, you dread every day, and that's when your business starts to go downhill along with your mental health. So wherever you're at, please try and find an hour a week, 2 hours a week to get a grown-up to come along and help you in the thing that is your weakness, because it will change the game for you down the line.
Yeah. And where do your kids fit into your work-life balance now? I mean, you mentioned that, like that long day on Wednesday, how you're structuring your week. Like, where do kids fit into the work-life balance, and do they understand what you do? Do they have any clue about like what mummy does, or she just talks to a screen all day?
Yeah, it's funny because mine is still quite young. They are 5 and 9 now. So my 9-year-old sort of gets it, and they all insist on having the merch, as they call it. You know, Mum, we want some merch. But I think because they've just always known that this is what mummy does for work. The fact that I work from home, I'm always here. Is one thing, you know, unless I'm out at big events or anything, which do happen a fair bit often. But again, they've only ever known me doing that. So we don't have this kind of abandoned separation issue where they scream and cry when I go, because it's all they've ever known. Mummy goes away for a few days and she's home again, and we're on FaceTime every day. You know, this is the beautiful thing now with Messenger Kids and all of that. You know, we can now be in touch. They've got the smart watches so they can voice message mummy whenever they want. So these kind of little things I think make it easy when you are going away. But I don't work at the weekends. That's something very important, whether it's just for me to completely relax and vegetate in front of the couch and Netflix watching some complete shit. But this is where, you know, our weekends are for family. They are 100% for doing family things. And the evenings, like I say, I don't do evenings now apart from Wednesdays. So I'm always there now. And that is really something that we've only been able to achieve in the last sort of 12 months, really, since we were able to bring in other staff to help and pick up that operational stuff. And I've got to the point now where I think I've got more comfortable with setting boundaries for clients. So I think there is a really big phenomena / disease that most of us entrepreneurs have, especially in the early days, that we are so scared of not being there for our clients, responding within 3 seconds, delivering and over-delivering the most amazing customer service ever, because we don't want to get cancelled, we don't want to get hated on, we don't want to get a shitty review, we don't want someone to go and troll us online and be like, this person didn't reply to my email within 5 seconds. Like, you, in those early days, you don't have reputation to back you up. And so we become so afraid of someone saying something mean about us or not being delighted that we stick on the end of the phone. We're there on the laptop. We feel like we have to reply instantaneously. And I think now I've kind of got through this initial startup phase and I have built a solid reputation. We have got reviews. We have got customers that absolutely adore us. I think now I'm a lot more comfortable with setting boundaries, and I'm a lot more comfortable with going, sorry, I'm not replying to your email until I get to my desk at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Sorry, like I'm just not. These are the hours I work, and you're not going to hear from me until that hour slot is there. I'm also a lot more comfortable with when people go online and be like, I need someone to reply to me right now. No one's got back to me in a minute. Sorry, someone will be back to you when they can. Like, I think that's something that I was just really scared of in the past, and that's what forced me to overwork and be over available. And I noticed as well that when I was over available, and I certainly am still a very accessible CEO, and that's something I do pride myself on, but I noticed that lots of people took advantage of that availability. A lot of people were messaging me at 11 o'clock at night and saying, I need someone to do this. Can you help me with that? I now have, actually, I'm happy to share this with everyone. So sorry if I've ever done this to you, but where people kind of cross that line, I pretend to be a bot. I just reply, and like if I feel like that they're about to go nuts, I'm like, hello, this is Sarah's AI assistant. Please email the main support desk on this email. Boing. Like, that's it. Just boundaries. And now those boundaries are there. Guess what? People respect my time more. It definitely has changed how obsessed I was with always being online and always being available, which took me away from the children because I was fretting constantly that what if someone gets upset? I've just got to the point now where I can only run this business if I'm healthy, if my business is together, and if I'm not a miserable, grumpy ass mother in the morning, trying to do the school pickup because I've been up till 1 a.m. trying to fix support issues. I'm okay to say, here's the main support line. I've got 24-hour staff there. They're going to get back to you. Chill out and go to sleep. Because I am.
I may have one of those canned responses.
You've got to do it, and it's not lack of care, is it? It's not lack of care, and it's not lack of support. I know you have. We've both got staff that we pay a fortune to provide 24-hour customer support. And when people don't follow those pathways, you must enforce them, because if you don't, if you have those boundaries open, you're going to get trampled to death, and it's as simple as that.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't want to take this into a customer support conversation, but you can tell them anyway when they come in. It's like there's people that genuinely need some help, and just like, cool, yep, I can point you in the right direction quickly. And that even the way they ask is like, could you please help me? I'm just stuck. You know what I mean? And then there's some people that just expect, and like the ones that expect, it's like, no. There's plenty of help there. You're
getting my canned response.
Yeah, like
you're getting my fake AI.
You are not. They're not going to respect the fact that you do take the time to reply to them anyway, because they'll just badger you again and again and again. Like you can tell after a while. You're just like, no, canned response for you. Okay, it might be 11 o'clock, but I am going to reply to you because I can just tell you appreciate it. They're like, thank God, I'd really
and they
appreciate
usually
it.
start with, I'm so sorry to bother you. I know this is really unprofessional to message you here. I'll go somewhere else if I need to, but just a quick question. You're like, you actually sound like a decent egg. Yeah. But it's true though. We actually have some SOPs in place. Like this is a real thing with dealing with difficult customers. And we actually have a genuine SOP. And I don't mind sharing this publicly because I think it's important for people to understand that being a decent human being does get you places. Our SOP literally says, if they are an a-hole and they're swearing, they're being aggressive, they're being rude, and I'm talking the definition of rude, aggressive, curse words in their emails, I literally say, put them at the bottom of the list. I do not appreciate or respect nor reward in any level aggression, disrespect, or impoliteness, because it doesn't cost you anything to be polite. And I appreciate that in the tech world, especially we all know in SaaS, you see the worst side of people. When people are mad that something didn't upload, something's the wrong color, something's formatted wrong, blah, 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 whatever it might be. I appreciate very much that it's frustrating. But there's 24-hour support. You can book people for calls. There's support there. And aggression is just not necessary. And in my business, I'm very happy to share that if you swear or are rude at my staff, we literally have a system that puts you at the bottom of the list. Be nice. Be polite.
You're nicer than me. I've fired 2 people for that. I've fired 2 clients. Just said, hey, we don't accept that. You've been refunded. Thank you. Bye.
We've also very much done that too, where we have people that are persistently aggressive to our support staff. I've contacted them and said, we have terms and conditions, and in our terms and conditions that are public, by the way, it states if there's any aggression or violence towards staff, we have the right to cancel your account. And refund in full, off you go be mean somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's important because it's, again, life and family, mental health. The last thing we all want or need is, on top of the stress of managing a family, the stress of violence and aggression that's completely unnecessary and would not be in any way tolerated in another workplace, in a traditional workplace. So you guys can only protect your mental health, which protects your quality of life all round, if you've made a decision about what you will or won't tolerate in terms of the hours you work, the response times that you give, and how you let people speak to you and your team.
Yeah. And your team, all those people, we're all real humans with real families and our own real problems and our own real things that we have to do. And the people that do that kind of stuff, right, they're upset about whatever it might be as well. It's like they forget that they're actually talking to another human on the other side. It's just like like you would not like it if someone spoke to you like that. So why do you think you can speak to someone else like that? It's a weird dynamic that you get with some people. Sometimes I find they just kind of forget.
Oh, it's just interesting. I'm always like, if we didn't have all of the cybersecurity and privacy laws that we have to adhere to, like sometimes I would just love to like screenshot the chat threads that some people send to our staff, because you just sit here and go, I bet you they would not speak like that in real life, and they would be horrified if that chat thread was shared. But it just becomes remarkable how people think, these poor humans at the other side who are getting sworn at because a logo's uploaded wonky because they saved it in the wrong file size in Canva. It just like, what on earth? But there we go. We must remain professional.
We must. So, so at the end of the day, life is good. Bigger business, but bigger business does mean bigger problems. At the end of the day, you just, there's always something else to solve, another challenge, another issue. Like the problems that you had 4 years ago would probably, there'd be water for ducks back now, right? You just go, yeah, no worries, we could do that. That's easy kind of thing.
I wouldn't say that, but certainly,
maybe not at that startup stage.
Yeah, definitely different problems. Yeah.
Yeah, different problems. Like, what do you do now to de-stress? I know you take the weekend off, you spend that time with the family. What's the de-stress time for you to kind of just, you have to let all that stuff go, and you really clear about how you get that running into the week so that you're clear for the rest of the week. But I know by the end of the week, you could be pretty fried. You deal with a load of customers, you deal with the family. What's the de-stress for you to get ready?
Yeah, well, I actually think the first part of that is having people to talk to. So there's actually been a huge personal development that I've had to do, especially in the last 2 years with the level of growth that we've gone through. Spending 20 years as by the best part, a solopreneur, right? I've made my own decisions, I've done my own things, and, things were pretty cruisy in the education business because I'd run it so long. It'd taken a long time to scale and automate and systemize. So I didn't have too many issues there. But now we've got, this huge operation. One of the things that I've found I've had to learn, and this has been so painfully hard for me to get used to because I've been so independent and so solo for so long, is actually discussing things that make me stressed. Discussing problems with people. So the number one thing that actually is part of my de-stress routine is having built, and this is the hard bit to do, is building a circle of trusted friends that you can come to with these problems and drop a dickhead emoji in a group chat and be like, oh, this customer's been really mean today, or this problem was really hard today, and how far can I make the wages today, or whatever the problem is going to be. Having a trusted space to do that is actually the beginning of the release of stress, because I've been learning this, right? A problem shared is a problem halved, if not completely dissolved. So that is the biggest thing. I actually have spent a lot of time investing in friendships in the last 2 years and investing in programs that are both part of my profit and business growth side, where I've got friends, like you, Gary, we're in a couple of secret groups together that are other SaaSpreneurs, where we can share all of our stuff. We've built a friendship that makes those spaces quite trusting, where we can, as peers, support each other with challenges that are going on, right? And sometimes all you need is somebody else to go, oh my God, me too. I've been through that. And you're like, oh, thank God it's not just me. Right? That can be enough. And the other side is the balance of another group of people, another space. So for me, I've actually invested in being part of another group that I focus on what I call my peace side. So I have profit and peace. And this, again, is a space that focuses on me being able to rebalance my nervous system when we've had, a really high week. That floods your body with dopamine. It floods your body with chemicals that are in alignment with the same kind of chemical high that you have when you've been on drugs. And the come down from those is astronomical. It's the same as a come down from a bloody 3-day bender you've been on. Like when I run my boot camps, you're on a high, you're up on that stage, you're getting dopamine hit. The crash that comes after those is like coming on a come down. Not that I would have any idea what that feels like. I'm merely assuming, right?
You read it in a book, I know.
Yeah, and if I didn't have these spaces there, I'm learning how to balance my nervous system using food and nutrition and supplements, doing more things like you do with your stretches every night. I'm the same. I have my somatic exercises that I do. I put on some music. Movement is one of the best things you can do, like somatic work. Go and type in Google somatic if you've never heard of it. It's the stretching. It's the just jiggling around to music. And I do this actually with the kids, right? When we're getting ready for school in the morning, instead of having the TV and cartoons on, just put Spotify on, have some fun, happy music, so that when you're getting ready for school, you're kind of dancing and jumping around, because it's an energetic release that you have when you're doing it. So those things, but I'm also very spiritual and woo-woo. Any of you watching the video version of this podcast, I've got sound bowls behind me. I have my little rituals where I've got candles and scents everywhere. Definitely every Friday is massage and soak Friday. So there's a bath house near where we live, and I catch up with my girlfriends.
Nice.
At Soak on a Friday, and we call it our management meetings, where we go in and we talk about all the stuff that we've got through the week and all the wins that we've had and our goals for the coming week, whilst we're sat in the hot tub bubbling away together. So you have that sense of support with the strategy and getting all of those things together and constantly talking with other people, for me, has been a very big part of the stress going from ooh to a little bit more balanced, less extreme.
That's good. And this is called SaaS Dads, this little series that we're doing here. And I think a lot of dads listening to this, or, SaaS Dads, could probably take a lot from that, because as guys generally don't do that. Like you're not going to find guys generally going to
20 years.
the hot tub sessions with their mates or whatever.
Yeah, but there's men's groups and things that are a really big part of it. And, my husband, being in the business for the last 2 years, for the first time in his life, he's gone and joined some men's groups to kind of be able to bring in, well, who am I now? Like, if we're not growing personally and professionally, well, neither can our business.
Yeah, and it's really important to have those shared experiences. Like you said, I mean, the groups that we were in and stuff like that, you post stuff in there, and so it goes, oh yeah, I had that problem before, and this is how I dealt with it. You just go, oh my God, someone else had that problem, and then you can get answers as well. You understand their shared experience with other people. It's so helpful, and just sitting alone trying to figure out these things and just stressing because people think that. It's easy, or you should get this run and up and done by the end of the week. And we see this quite often in the high level group, where people are just like, oh, I'm stressed. I was doing this, and it's harder work than I thought, and I'm stressed with my wife, and the business isn't running as. It's just like, okay, you've got to get through some of these things, and sometimes like the stress, the pressure will build diamonds as well.
Totally.
You come out of those on the
other
side.
It's giving yourself the chance to force yourself to get away from your desk, I think, is another big one, because I was a real baddie for this, and just kind of going, one more thing, one more task, I've got to get this done, I've got to get this done, and thinking that if I carried on, the to-do list was going to be completed. So find your thing that's a release for you. But one thing that I've only been doing for the last sort of 3 to 6 months is I kept going, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to go to the gym, right? And I've been paying this flipping gym membership, my charitable contributions, for ages. And the only thing that I realized was going to make me go is if I had an appointment that was the same as all the other appointments in my calendar. So I went and hired a PT, even though I know how to use the machines, even though I know how to do all the things, I hired a PT, and I set a time with that person, and I have to meet them at the gym at that time. And now, because I'm paying for that damn PT session and it's a fixed appointment, now I treat that appointment with myself, my get away from my computer, go and do some fizz, let the stress out, kick off some dopamines and oxytocin in my body while I'm at it, and have a freaking break for an hour. That happens because it's fixed. So again, any of you who are sitting there slave to the computer, one more thing, go and book a PT, even if you just do it for 6 weeks or something, because I think you will see how you treat that time differently when it becomes a fixed appointment. Big stress reliever for me.
Yeah, I think, like I said, stretching for me is every single day. I train regularly. I do other things as well. I just got a new ice bath, I've got a sauna, I have a massage chair at home. Like, for me, that stuff is just super important, because if you feel physically bad, like, then you feel mentally bad as well. Like, it just doesn't work very well. So I fully wholeheartedly agree with all of that stuff. Like, you got to take care of yourself, because you're doing all this for you're doing this for your family, your partner, your wife, your husband, like, for your family. So you got to be in good shape mentally and physically, I think, as well.
Definitely.
So it's super important stuff.
It's a never-ending journey. I think that's the most important thing that I think we all need to recognize from this is, I think a lot of us have this kind of subconscious belief that there's a destination that we're kind of aiming for. And of course there is if you're building a business to scale, to sell it, whatever. But the actual everyday, your to-do list is never going to be finished. The support tickets are never going to stop coming in. The new customers are never going to stop pouring in the top that need to be trained and educated in the same way as all of the other ones that have come through. So what we need to kind of understand is that we're never going to just reach this point where it's all done, the work is done. If our SaaS is growing, we're going to constantly be going through the same things all day, every day. So I think we need to remove ourselves from the illusion that if I work a bit more harder, put in one more hour, skip that footy class with the kids today, that I'll be a step ahead. You won't. right? This is a business whereby it's just constantly flowing through with customers. So scheduling that time, fixing your hours is going to make your life better from today. And there's actually a law called the Parkinson's law, which means that the less time you have to do something, the more effective you become at completing it, because you have less time. What happens when you have less time to do something, i.e. now I have to fit it into 5 hours instead of 10, is that now you also begin to filter out the tasks that are less important, the tasks that were on there because that would be cool to do. You become more focused on the right tasks, the most productive tasks, and you become quicker and more efficient at doing them. And so for me, kind of realizing this, there isn't an end point, this is always going to be this busy, if not hopefully busier, I actually need to start my new routine and my new lifestyle now, because if I'm building the business and it keeps going, it's not going to change. So this has been another big part, and I think something nice for us all to end with there today.
Yeah, that's the super hack. If you've got to get something done, go to the coffee shop with your laptop with the battery at 25% and don't take your power cord. Yes. You will get that thing done.
That is a good technique. I love it.
So let's wrap this up. I would like to wrap this up though with just, and I'm going to ask you two questions actually. Normally I only ask one, right? But I want to ask you two. So the question is, normally if you could go back and give some advice to yourself previously when you started this journey, what would you do? But I also want to ask you, what would your husband say? What advice would he give you if you could go back as well? So I want to ask that of you, and then what do you think your husband would say as well?
Wow. Okay. Well, I think I would have got help from a grown-up in faster than I did, because I went in with a little bit of arrogance because I came from tech that I thought I could do it. I think I wasted probably 6 months of absolutely astronomical growth that I could have had, that I spent fucking about doing things that somebody else could have done. And a mistake that I have shared on stage before was because of my lack of knowledge around running a SaaS, that I wasn't aware that I didn't know. We actually lost $34,000 in the first 3 months of business because not hackers got in the system, but people were signing up on the free trial and sending out mass email distributions. And obviously that went on my credit card. We couldn't rebill them because they'd use fake credit cards to sign up. And that was a massive hit in the first 3 months of running a business, right? 34 grand gone like that. Most businesses don't have that. And that then became a problem and a hole and a cash flow issue that we had to fix right when we should have been in huge momentum stage. So if I'd had someone from the beginning and hadn't been so flippin' arrogant and thinking I knew what I was doing, that $15 million valuation might have come 6 months in instead of 18 months in, right? And what was the second question? What would my husband say? What
would your husband say? What advice would he give you going back now if he knew? Because you said you handed him the baby and said, I'm off. And he's like, okay, didn't really know what you're doing, but he accepted it very well. God bless him. What do you think he would say if he knew now that?
Yeah, I think he's going to do the same. Go and hire Maria from day one. Not yet. Not 6 months later when you completely fucked it all up trying to do it by yourself. So they would be the same, I think. And that's been my biggest growth lesson in the last few years alone, is that I got so far by myself, and I certainly was successful. I had a 7-figure business which funded me starting a SaaS software, but I didn't know what I didn't know, and I was just really terrible at asking for help. It was a very big weakness of mine. I felt like asking for help was a sign of weakness, and I was very scared because of being burned by previous partnerships and bringing previous people in who did take advantage of me. I was so afraid of that happening again, and I kind of tarred all of my future partnerships with the same brush that other people had burned me with, that it held back my growth in those early days. And now that I am making partnerships a big part of my growth strategy, it's growing and growing at a multiplier that there's no way I would be either at now or certainly be able to achieve with the plans of growth that I have going forward. So I think any one of us, I know I'm on a man's podcast here, but I am considered pretty masculine energy. That is something I think anyone who works in a very dominant A-type, masculine type style of operation does tend to avoid asking for help. And I think that is one of the biggest things that I've learned and have overcome in the last 18 months that I know is going to be responsible for how much more I grow.
Awesome. Well, yeah, so people watching this, ask for help. High-level community is amazing. If you're in a particular area, see if you can find little meetups or groups in there. We have a great one in Australia that we meet every week online on the Zoom. We try and do little local meetups where I live as well. We have a little group that meet up and we just catch up once a month for lunch. It's just to chat and see what's going on with everyone. And I think if you can find that community, then that's really
Yeah. And
important. That
people
will help
love
you.
helping. Like, I think this is
Yeah.
just such an illusion. I always thought I'm going to be a burden. Like, people haven't got time for my shit. But people absolutely love it. Like, people's whole businesses are based around helping us in certain areas, right? So it's just how I thought, like, that was just insane. But anyway, you've got me, you've got Gary, you've got the whole high level community, and you've got loads and loads of incredibly talented people out there who is your next growth opportunity, like giving them the job that fills them up, that's their life's best work, could literally be that very thing that tips you to that next growth level. So take the risk, make sure you've got your paperwork in order, of course, go and talk to a lawyer or a grown-up, make sure you've got your correct paperwork, your correct engagement or employment contracts and papers in place so that you are protected if things do go wrong. But I think we need to get over mistrusting people from the beginning. If your paperwork is in place, go all in and you might be damn surprised with what happens.
Awesome. Sarah, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming in, having a chat to me today.
My absolute pleasure. Thinking of all you legends, doing all the things, balancing all of the poles, throwing and juggling all of the balls. Not every day's easy, but I think sometimes when we're having those days where we think, fuck, I can't do this, like, how am I going to keep going? I think we need to remember to be really blessed by how much we have to do, because I certainly would be struggling with all these things, and the fact I have a family, and the fact I have a partner, and the fact I have friends, and the fact I have this, which sometimes I complain about because it's so much. Sometimes I have to just sit and remind myself, isn't this the greatest blessing on earth? So you've got this. Good luck.
Thanks very much, Sarah.